Tia Nina from Houston, Texas says, "Hi John, love your channel. Thank you for being so open and honest." From Tia Nina. Thank you, Tia Nina from Houston, Texas. Thank you. And you're right, there was a video I was very open about, very honest about. You can go digging for it, I ain't gonna talk about it. But thank you. Messages like that, you'd be amazed if you're having a bad day how much stuff like that actually perks me up. So to Tia Nina, thank you. And if anybody else wants to send me anything, P.O. Box 8901, Red Bank, New Jersey 07701. Send me something. It's my business P.O. Box. Go for it. I'll happily read it here on the channel, unbox it, whatever you send me. But thank you to Tia Nina. Made my day. Thank you. With that said, hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burns Views. My name is John here on Burns Views. It's been a minute, but it's good to be talking about movies again. So, I saw Renfield today, and I'll admit, I'm a giant Nicolas Cage fan. You've seen me talk about Willy's Wonderland, you've seen me talk about Pig, I've even talked about Prisoners of the Ghostland.
Really?
When it comes to Nicolas Cage, I'm in. So, when they told me that they were going to actually give a role to Nicolas Cage to play Dracula, the character that he's been longing to play his entire career, I was like, this is it, this is going to be great. But does it deliver on that? Well, yes and no. Let's go into the positives. First and foremost, Nicolas Cage is great. One of the last great actors we have who's kind of been godfathered in. One of the last movie stars who's still kicking, because we really don't have movie stars anymore. And he's fantastic in this film. If you know from the trailer, like, this is like your kind of humor, the campy, silly, over-the-top kind of style of Nicolas Cage just being extra, you know, I was all in on that. That's probably the best thing about this movie. Nicolas Cage just chewing the scenery. You know what? I'm just gonna skip to negatives. Writing. The writing for this movie could have been so much better. There's so much that I love in this movie, and I'll speed around the pros. Nicolas Cage, fantastic. Ben Schwartz is number 2 for being the best part of this movie, because I didn't expect him to be funny. I thought he was going to be this annoying character that shows up, that they kind of just shoehorned in because he's kind of popular with like Sonic or the next thing. He's actually got the best lines in the movie. In fact, if you told me that they did like a weird spin-off of like Dracula and Ben Schwartz and they kind of made it like a What We Do in the Shadows kind of TV show, I'd be down. Those scenes where they're together, probably the best scenes in the movie. As far as the main plot, you know, if you watch a trailer, it's very much about Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult, Dracula and Renfield, in this toxic relationship where he's oppressing him and holding him down and holding him back. And Nicolas Cage is fantastic as a narcissistic yet campy Dracula, but at the same time, they don't really have a lot of scenes together, which is odd. They have a few, but I guess for the sake of the movie, they're at odds with each other, so they can't have a lot of scenes together. Also, Nicolas Cage, I feel like we circle back to his character, but he could have been in it more, in a more meaningful way. You could have explored a lot of different avenues with the codependency, the toxic relationship, their dynamic. And we get that in very tiny drips and drabs, but it's kind of a background element to it all. It's a catalyst, if anything. I can't say it really pays off in a big, satisfying way by the time we get to the end of it. It does resolve, but in some ways you're just like, eh? I would say this movie is largely kind of like a post-Deadpool kind of movie, because it has all the taperings of a Deadpool movie. We have Nicholas Hoult starting the movie with narration, which he does throughout the whole movie, and then we go back in time, we flash back, we flash forward, again, another Deadpool trope, and that's fine, I was fine with it. Awkwafina. I love Awkwafina. Thought she was great in those Jumanji movies. I've seen her in a whole bunch of other stuff that I can't think of right now. Her character feels very thinly written. She's got a whole subplot about how her dad was killed by a bunch of mobsters, and her sister also works in the department, and she's kind of held up behind all this red tape, and all of it is incredibly superficial. But that's to no fault of Awkwafina, or Nicholas Hoult, or Nicolas Cage. It all has to do with the writing. It's very the writing's very paper thin. And that, I feel, is like the biggest holdup of this movie. I wanted it to be a little bit more. I wanted it to be just a little bit of heart. You can't have a movie that's about a character who's kind of going through a little bit of trauma or a toxic relationship, and you gotta put a little bit of something in there to kind of, I don't know, cap it off. This just kind of felt like they kind of meandered a little bit. Another critique I have of this movie is that it has a lot of, gotta keep it moving, gotta keep it moving, gotta keep it moving. Like one of those like later day Skywalker Star Wars movies, like the Last Skywalker. Next scene, next scene, next scene. Again, going back to the writing. Writing could have been polished a little better. The jokes are very hit or miss too. I'd say it's a real 50-50 split. Between the jokes landing and not landing. And maybe I'm being a little harsh for a movie that's kind of like a campy comedy. It's really an action comedy, if you want to break it down. It's kind of like an 80s, 90s throwback. I'm harping on this movie because I'm critically, I guess on a certain level I have to, but I'll admit, I did enjoy this movie. It's probably the funniest movie I've seen thus far in 2023. I did enjoy myself. I didn't laugh out loud, but I did smile or smirk throughout maybe half the scenes. The beginning of the film is great. We have a couple of great flashback scenes where you could tell they deep faked the new characters onto the old movies, and it's great. The black and white scene is fantastic. The action kind of looks odd. It's this like explosive Nickelodeon blood. You know, like whenever in the 90s when people would get slimed with like green and orange kind of goo, gack, slime. It kind of looks like that, which I don't get it. Like, what is the point? I mean, it's practical mixed in with digital effects, but like, I don't know. It just, I found it to be a little odd, in my opinion. The violent scenes is kind of done with a little bit of comedy. One dude gets his face like ripped right off and he looks like Skeletor. It's fantastic. Good movie if you're looking to break up the week, but at the same time, you know what it is? It's disappointing because it could have been so much better. And I was looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be... I didn't know what it was going to be, but I figured I'll figure it out when I get there. And when I left, I just kind of went, yeah, alright. The Dracula movie. Renfield movie. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to give this movie a 6.5 and move on. I wouldn't pay IMAX levels of money to go see it. But I would pay to go see it on a Friday night. If you want to go see it Friday night, thinking like, hey, I'm itching for a movie Friday night. And if you like the over-the-topness that is Nicolas Cage, if that is your thing, I'm going to grade it on a curve and push it up to like an 8 if you like Nicolas Cage shenanigans. So I'd call it a mixed bag. And if this sounds like a real middle-of-the-road kind of review, it's because it is. I would recommend Renfield. I can't sing its praises because it didn't really deliver on the writing, and the actors did the best they could. Action is fun, even though if you've seen any Marvel movie, you know what's up. Guys on wires, kicking, punching. A couple of bloody scenes were kind of fun, but again, fun movie, but a bit forgettable. So that's my final statement, my final verdict. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's good to be back in front of the camera again. It's good talking to you guys. I'm touched by the mail. I'm touched by all your comments. Don't think that I don't read them. I totally do. Be sure to comment down below. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.
Bye.